It's the Elsa Kirk Show with Clay Nova. Serving up trending news and conservative views. Brought to you by the Elsa Kirk Collection. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
It's party time! I am so excited. Clay and I were just chatting off camera beforehand, as we are wont to do. And he's so impressed with me that I stayed up last night and watched the entire address. And I'm so glad that I did. I can't wait to talk about this, Clay.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Elsa is a highlight reel. Like that's her jam. She doesn't do a lot of full length State of the Union but last night she stayed up. I'm proud of you. That's pretty awesome. And as it turns out, everything that I had planned to talk about before the president spoke last night, he pretty much covered. So yeah. Listen, folks, this show is going to roll around and focus on what happened last night. And we'll get started right after this. Hey folks, Clay Novak here, author of the novel Keep Moving, Keep Shooting. So what I've got here is the Boo Boo 2.0 basic first aid kit. This is the one that you throw in your glove box, throw in the trunk of your car, keep in the house. It's got your Band-Aids, antiseptic wipes, those kinds of things for scrapes and cuts, and some more significant. There is a tourniquet in here. But Boo Boo 2.0, this is the kit that you need all the time. Again, refugemedical.com. You can find it there. Definitely a useful kit. Use the discount code KMKS at checkout. Get yourself 10% off. Refuge Medical, not only buy their equipment, but get their training. Refuge Medical offers training as well. Keep moving, keep shooting.
Spring is knocking. Ready to refresh your vibe? The Elsa Kirk collection has everything from page-turning reads to eye-catching fashion, guaranteed to add a little sunshine to your season. Calling all statement makers, Elsa's pieces are designed to turn heads and bring confidence to your closet. But that's not all. Love a good book? Elsa's got your next favorite read waiting just for you. Don't miss Elsa's Amazon affiliate store, filled with handpicked beauty treasures, home must-haves, and daily essentials. It's like a personal shopping spree made easy. Make this spring your season. Shop the Elsa Kirk collection today and let the fun begin.
Oh my goodness, so much fun, so much fun. So let's start off by letting everybody know we are recording on Wednesday. You'll be watching this on Thursday. So when we refer to last night, that's why. Yeah. So I want to make sure I say that because you know what happens. You know what'll happen, right?
Every week, somebody says they ask us a question, which you and I are always in the comments. And,
we're always there hanging out. Yes.
But they want to ask us a live question as if we can respond on video, which we cannot do. So
nope, can't do it. Not unless we. I don't know what.
Well, we've done a couple of live shows. We should probably do another one of those.
Yeah, we're getting due for one. Yeah, we'll bring one to you guys pretty soon.
Yeah, last night would have been a fun one. It would have been a long one.
Last night would have been a blast.
Fun one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So in case you missed it, I highly doubt that you did. Maybe you're like me in my normal routine of just catching the highlights and lowlights after the fact and just enjoying a quiet evening. Whatever the case, you know that President Trump addressed the Congress last night, and it was 100 minutes long, and apparently the longest address on date, right? Or thus far, I think.
Yeah, it was. I didn't understand, or I guess I never realized that. I think it was President Reagan that started doing this right at the beginning because it's not a State of the Union,
right?
So it's 6 weeks or 6 weeks into office, and just give a status update or a kind of here's where we are, here's what my intent is for the term. And so he was the first one to do this, and it's kind of been the norm ever since. Go figure. Reagan came up with another good idea.
Of course he did.
Yeah, but this was, so it's not a State of the Union, but it was longer than a State of the Union and much, much more involved.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, I actually had some confusion there at one point when I was, kind of wrapping my brain around talking about this and doing that. I'm like, and I almost typed out State of the Union. I'm like, wait. No, it's not the State of the Union. What are we actually calling this? So I'm just calling it addressing Congress. Like, I'm sure there's a better name for it. Like, is there an actual term for it? And I don't even know it.
I think they referred to it as addressing a joint session of Congress.
Okay, there you go. I just shortened it for everybody.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I mean, and we'll talk about it. But when Representative Green got his rear end tossed out of chambers, I wasn't familiar with him. I was familiar with him by face. I'd seen him before, but I could not remember his name for the life of me, which happens more often. But I was starting to Google, like, who just got thrown out of, and I started to type State of the Union. And I was like, I know that's not right.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, I think a lot of America just reflexively called it a State of the Union because that's what it feels like.
Yeah. I know we're not alone in that. I've seen that in other spots where people have, not necessarily made that mistake, but made that comparison. So yeah, I mean, I guess we can walk it right down from the beginning, right? Right off the bat, there were issues, and I didn't know this part until you told me off camera about his walking in, what was supposed to happen. So you go ahead and tell them that, because
so we can even go before that. So,
sure. Right.
Security wise, President Trump is a bit of a special case, having 2 assassination attempts prior to, on the campaign trail. So the Secret Service, there was reports of a protest somewhere on the main route between the White House and the Capitol building. So they loaded up an entire convoy as if it was the president and drove it on the normal route. And it occupied the protesters, when in reality, they took the president and they went around a back route and they got him there. It seemed like maybe a minute or two late, but they knew it was coming. So Secret Service, obviously, we've seen an improvement already that quick.
Yes.
But to address what you were talking about, so I didn't know this, but they made a mention of it, last night, the commentary, that when they have these, there's supposed to be a bipartisan delegation that escorts the president into chambers. So outside the door, you've got Democrats and Republicans, and the Democrat side, the blue side delegation didn't show up. So there was no bipartisan escort, which set up the attitude for the entire evening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was already set in motion. And of course, it was set in motion already beforehand. There were rumors of the types of antics that they were considering doing. There were some reports that they were considering throwing eggs, which, as you said before we came on air, like they probably realized very quickly that the consequences of throwing something at the president of the United States would result in something that they really would not want to happen, so more than just getting booted out of the room there, right? Yeah.
I think best case scenario would have been a physical, physical reaction by Secret Service. In other words, somebody would have jumped on the president. Somebody would have physically jumped on whoever tossed the egg. There would have been some physical contact for sure, at a minimum. And in a worst case scenario, you've got a president who, again, has had 2 assassination attempts. Right. Somebody throws something at him. Secret Service reacts, and potentially somebody gets really, really hurt. Even potentially somebody getting shot. So I think I don't know. I mean, they were rumors. You were right. Use the right word. Sure. But if somebody had considered that, hopefully they thought better, and that's why we didn't see any of that. Not that we didn't see any antics, but we did not see.
Yeah. So, we'll talk about the Democrats for a moment, and we'll be talking about them for several moments throughout this. But, let me just start off by saying my obvious opinion, which is that what a disgusting, embarrassing, disgraceful display. There are plenty of contentious, tense relations between Democrats and Republicans, and whatever party leader there is, taking center stage there. That's normal. It is what it is. This was a level of distastefulness that exceeded everything. And there is nothing. And I'll tell you what, if you are on the left, if you are a Democrat and you are applauding, sitting, back in your living room or wherever you may have watched this, and applauding that behavior, shame on you. Shame on you. That is absolutely appalling. Grotesque, really.
Yeah, and it started from the get-go. So, and listen, folks, there have been incidences in the past where Republicans have booed Democratic presidents, in things that they have said, along the way. I believe that's the level of escalation that it's gotten to prior to this. But of course, as with everything else, it escalates every time. So as we all saw last night that watched, and those that didn't, the first thing that stuck out was all the pink, which was the biggest bit of hypocrisy ever, because the intent behind that was, all the female congresspeople, congresswomen talking about how they were wearing pink to represent women's issues, when earlier in the very same day, the day before, they voted against protecting women in locker rooms and allowing transgender. Not a single Democrat voted in favor of the, protecting women in locker rooms. So hypocrisy there, and you couldn't miss the pink, right? Which was the intent.
Right.
Message sent, message received. But the hypocritical part of it was not lost on anyone.
Right. Yeah, that wasn't lost on anyone. Anyone paying attention, certainly. Yeah, I saw that right away. Somebody, I didn't pause it or screenshot it to see what it actually said because I didn't care that much, but I did see that at least one of them had writing all over her blazer. I'm sure all their little catchphrases and slogans on there, and whatever else. But yes, absolutely.
And that was a theme for the evening too. So you saw it as the president walked in, and I don't know who it was. There was a Democrat female holding a sign that says, "This is not normal." That's what it said. I also saw as the president passed her, a Republican reached across the aisle, grabbed it, and flipped it in the air.
Yes.
So,
I want to. Can we all just take bets right now on what time and day her lawsuit for assault will come out? Because that's going to happen.
I thought that was going to escalate. Truthfully,
it certainly could have.
Really did. Yeah. Thankfully, it didn't, because my concern was the proximity of the president. He was right there.
Right.
So I thought if somebody decided that was risky, reaching across the aisle by that Republican that did that.
Yes.
But had that escalated even further, that could have gotten very, very ugly with the president right there. So, but we saw the signs for the rest of the night.
Right.
You saw the circular signs that were actually, they kind of look like something out of an auction, but they also, they had things on both sides. I think they were actually like clackers.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not positive. And then of course you had what's her name that had her own dry erase.
Oh, she had like a whiteboard, right? Was it a whiteboard that she used?
To leave, she would dry erase board herself, whatever it was, issue that she wanted to address. So the signs, that messaging was definitely a theme for the evening and pre-planned, obviously.
Of course. Although I have to say, it did not look like one of their usual coordinated efforts. There was obviously some coordination there and some planning between them, but you had, unless they just like divided it all up, like, okay, your cause is going to be Ukraine, so you wear all your blue and gold, and your cause is going to be women. And you know what I mean? So you had these different factions of their little merry band of morons. And you like that one? I like that one too. Okay. Can we pause?
It's pretty fitting. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you. Some once in a while I come out with a good one. But yeah, so you had these little different factions, and I think they simply couldn't decide what their messaging was going to be. I think they were probably infighting about it. Like, well, I think we should all wear black because that was a thing. There were people wearing black, which, they're like in mourning over this new presidency. But, again, all of the things that they were, representing in their little anger, all equally showed their idiocy and their hypocrisy and their absolute abhorrence and hatred of America, of this country. You can't hate this country more than these people presented themselves as doing. And, case in point, they could not clap for one single positive thing. And we're talking about, and we'll go down the list a little more thoroughly, but we're talking about a child who survived brain cancer, a family of a girl who was brutally murdered by an illegal alien, a slain officer. You can't stand for children. You can't stand up for you. Your hatred is so consuming that you can't even pause that for a moment and look at that beautiful, sweet child and clap for him. You're not clapping for Trump. You want to call it theater? Call it theater. I don't care what you call it. It's not theater to that little boy. It's not theater to him. It's not theater to those families who lost loved ones. It's real for them. That to me was probably like the lowest of lows that they reached that night.
Yeah, well, it started with them not rising when the president walked in.
Yes.
So that's part of it. And if you notice, he walked in and he was, he did maybe 3 people down the line because he was shaking hands. He turned left. He realized that nobody was standing over there, so he kept right. And then he started kind of laughing and doing one, like, can you believe these guys? He just kept going. Yeah. So they set the precedent. And again, I don't think I've ever seen that before. And that is, whether they respect President Trump or not, that's disrespect to the office.
Yeah.
That's where things start to degrade. Cruz went off on a rant after it was over with about that exact thing. And he said, he's like, I didn't respect President Obama. I booed President Obama. He admitted that there was some contentious things that happened, but he said it every single time. every single, Democratic president walked in chambers, he goes, you get up off your butt and you stand up because you respect the office. And that's where the decorum, we talked about this last week, and we're going to talk about it a lot because it was a huge part of last night.
Right.
The decorum, the respect, the mutual respect, the acting like a grown-up has kind of gone out the window. Admittedly, there was some that happened, including by the president himself, that I would prefer doesn't happen. But obviously, the vast majority of it was on the left.
Absolutely.
Last night. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And, I think, and I'm not making excuses, just seeing it for what it was. I think that, his comments were definitely, I think, retaliatory. I think it was definitely I think he would have, if they had shown just an ounce of respect, just an ounce of maturity, I think he probably would have kept it pretty fair. He's going to call out. I mean, he's going to call out the previous administration no matter what. That's a given. But I don't think he would have been, antagonistic to them in the audience there as much, maybe a little bit, but not nearly as much. And I'm sure you're probably referring to the Pocahontas comment.
I mean, that's one for sure. But so he started out the speech and it started out great, but again, it set the tone because, he started out, America is back, right? And huge applause from, everybody on the conservative side.
Yeah.
And again, nothing from the Democrats, which again, reiterated the fact that they can't cheer for America. They're so blinded by, I don't like the term Trump derangement syndrome, but there isn't a better one out there.
There just isn't right now. Somebody will come up with it.
So they said their disdain for him as a person and as a president clouds everything else. So they couldn't even cheer for that.
Yeah.
And then of course we got that prompted the whole thing with Representative Green, which I've never seen before. I don't think any of us have seen before. Speaker of the House Johnson stopped. I actually watched, and I had a great time watching him and Vice President Vance last night.
I did too. I love the hot mic moment they got caught on as well. Did you catch that?
I missed that.
Oh yeah, so they showed it at some point today. I saw it a couple of times. I'll throw it up here too for you guys.
Well, we could have coordinated, I guess, but man, this is, I gotta be honest with you. By the way, I think the speech is going to be great, but I don't know how you do this for 90 minutes.
The hardest thing was doing it during Biden, when the speech was a stupid campaign speech.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny. So it was a funny hot mic moment. Listen, they're not stupid. I'm sure they knew they were on. Why else would he whisper to him something if he didn't know?
Yeah. So they, as the left got rowdy at the beginning of the speech, I watched it happen. Johnson reached down. He raised his microphone up, and I was like, here it comes. and he stood, a gavel, right? Stood up. Yeah. The president turned around, respected his role as the speaker. He reminded everyone of decorum, their responsibility to maintain decorum. Green kept going, and then, Johnson reminded him again, and then he said, okay, Sergeant at Arms, get Mr. Green out of here,
Yeah, it was so great.
Out he went.
And Vance is there going, out, get him out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, I shot across the bow. Listen, we're not messing around. And I think that was a total setup. I think Green was a sacrificial lamb. I think that was
he drew the short straw for sure.
Or
you're going to be the one.
Yeah, he might have lobbied for it. He might have asked to have been that person. So, but it was all staged. It was all theater. Okay, fine. And so they escorted him out. But if you noticed, at least for probably the next 20 or 25 minutes or so, there were security, I assume Secret Service, but there were security moving in and amongst the aisles as they were watching the conduct. I think a couple other people got booted too. They got up and walked out. Yes.
Walked out. Yeah.
I don't know if they got escorted. I know there was 2 or 3 that I know got up and just walked out in the middle.
Yeah. I would say, your main players did not want to be the ones to cause the scene because they couldn't bear to be without camera time on themselves. They don't want to be out of the limelight in their minds. So, they like you said, they're sacrificial lambs, were the ones that were designated to be the ones to get, walked out or kicked out, whatever the case was. But man, oh man, what a disgusting display from them. And again, I've said it before in different things that they've done. I'm glad for it only in that it keeps showing the American people what they're really about. And, you know, and I'm sorry to and for old school Democrats, you know, people who don't either know that their party has been hijacked. I don't know how you don't know this by now. I really don't. But, you know, people who kind of really don't pay that much attention, they just kind of skim the surface of information, you know, they're apparently oblivious, or they just don't know what to do about it, you know, and I can understand that too. Like, what do? Your party that you've affiliated yourself with, maybe your entire adult life, is not the party that you knew. So what are your options? Well, you hate us, so you don't want to be part of us. But however, we actually represent some of those old school values that you think, you know, your party represented. Just saying, right?
Yeah. So it's, you know, the president started, you know, he started into his speech and he started talking about, you know, essentially all recovering from the Biden administration. I mean, I think that's the theme. But, you know, you touched on it earlier, is that there was not a single thing that he could say or did say that they were happy about.
Right.
No tax on tips, no tax on retirement, no tax on, you know, any of that, which is, you know, the Democrats have been huge on that, right?
Yeah.
So, well,
how can you not applaud that?
They weren't huge on it because it was his idea, but that is the flip side theme. They can't be happy about anything that would give President Trump or the administration any credit. So they weren't happy about no tax on tips. They weren't happy about a recovering economy. They weren't happy about anything. They weren't happy. Like you, again, the shamefulness of not even acknowledging, and let's just go through some of them. So you had Lake and Riley's family was there. Okay, her mother and her sister.
Yep.
You had the mother of the 12-year-old girl who was raped and killed under the bridge.
Jocelyn,
right? Yep. Which the president named, you know, he signed an executive order right there.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of theater, but
sure,
awesome, right?
Yes.
Named a wildlife refuge after that young woman or that young girl. Again, couldn't even applaud for that.
Right.
You had the Border Patrol agent who showed some amazing courage, you know, protecting his partner. He was there.
Yeah.
Nothing there. You had the young girl who got spiked in the head with the volleyball. She was there. Nothing there.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Wait, you mean the women in their pink jackets for women didn't?
Exactly.
What? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Jerks. Yeah.
And then you had the two young ladies who were guests of the first lady. You had I mean the 13-year-old DJ, my man DJ, which his
DJ, we got a video of DJ. I love this. You want to watch it? Let's show everybody this. I love this.
DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Oh, my heart. You better believe I cried. I cried like a baby watching that. Oh, I'm tearing up now because it was so awesome. Oh my goodness. And here is the moment that happened over on the left. Now this is just a still, of course, of that. This one rolls her eyes. Yeah. And there
was one female Democrat who stood up and applauded.
Well, I want to hug that woman. Yeah. Thank goodness one person had the decency.
She was sitting closest to the aisle, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But there was one. There was the young man who, you know, President Trump told him on national television last night, "Hey, by the way, you're going to what?" You know.
Yeah. We have that moment too. And there's something else. I want you guys to watch this one all the way up until the end, and I want you guys to notice something at the end that you might have missed. I don't know if you missed it, but we're going to watch it.
Pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets.
That was the moment right there. So
DJ with the high five.
Right? So let me tell you, and I think we can all agree on this, that young man, DJ, showed more class
Yep.
and just absolute coolness in that one moment than those Democrats did the entire night. And if nothing else shames them the way that they should be shamed, that should do it. That was what a great young man. Both of them, great young men. And I'm so excited to see what they're going to do in the future. Just wow.
Yeah. And then obviously, so, it was such a huge part of the night was their poor conduct. There was President Trump has, and he always does this, and it's part of his businessman personality. Everything that he does is the best ever. It's the best anybody's ever seen. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Nobody's ever seen it. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Never happen again. Right. Which I get it. I think that is now I think he does it just to poke the Democrats in the eye. But it is a speech pattern of his. And it is what it is. But, the Pocahontas crack against Elizabeth Warren, I could have done without. Although, again, a little bit antagonized. But I thought the best one great thing that he said, and then a missed opportunity. The great thing that he said was when he was talking about the border. He said, the Democrats kept saying we need more legislation. We need more legislation, more legislation. Well, it turns out the only thing you need is a new president, right? That's mic drop moment. That was huge. But what I think he didn't do, and it would have been highly antagonistic, but I think he should have done it anyway, is in one of these moments that we've been talking about, no matter which one, pick one, Lake and Riley, no matter what.
Yeah.
He should have pointed and said, look at that. They can't even stand for, to celebrate DJ, or they can't stand to honor the family, or they can't stand to honor that Border Patrol agent. He should have directed it at them. He did it in one moment. There was one instance where he did call it out, and, not quite as directly as that, but he did acknowledge that they won't stand for anything. No matter what I do, they won't stand for it. You acknowledge that. But I agree with you. I think every time there was one of these moments, he should have called attention to the fact that they were not applauding. Because again, think what you want, feel what you want. You're not applauding for Trump. You're applauding for these people who are getting honored. And that is just a classy thing to do. Yep. It just is. Whether, you like, again, I said it before, whether you think it's theatrics, whether you think it's BS, whether you like it or not, this is what you do as a human adult person. This is what you do. I really, and I'm so glad that we talked about it last week too, and that this became even more under a spotlight, essentially, this kind of behavior. I really, really want to see something done about this. And I mean, there needs to be, I don't know, some joint meeting where they lay down the law, and whether they need to add new rules to this or just re-emphasize the ones that are already on the books, probably a combination of both things, that there will be a certain amount of decorum that's not just expected, it's demanded. And this is the way it's going to be going forth. And if you violate this in any way that's written, you're out. You're automatically ejected. And I don't know, maybe not necessarily automatically censure, but certainly on the table for that, because it's unacceptable. And there can be, you want to protest, have your little quiet protest, fine, sit with your signs. I don't like that either. I don't think it's appropriate. But if you're going to allow something, fine, sit with your little angry little signs, hold them up, so you can make a little spectacle of yourself, have your own little theater going on. But you keep your mouth shut. You stand when the president comes in. You stand when the president leaves. You don't have to stand every time he says something, but whatever. Decorum and demanded decorum, period. I don't think I'm wrong. Do you think I'm wrong? No, I have one. I think Al Green's going to get censured. They're already talking about it. Mike Johnson spoke afterwards, and he said that, we'll have to handle this in the normal way that they handle those things. Him as Speaker of the House, they have a process for that. But there is discussion of him being censured. Okay, fine, good. Hold him accountable. Yeah. Accountability is what you're talking about. But I think there's another way to kind of diffuse it a little bit. And so it's a very stark room, right? You've got one side versus the other side. There's no hiding that, right?
Right.
You have all of the Joint Chiefs the service chiefs are all sitting there, and the justices, the chief justices, the Supreme Court, SCOTUS is all sitting there. They are bipartisan, non-emotional, apolitical in their reaction. They don't stand. They don't. The only time that the service chief stood was when they announced that kid going to West Point.
Yeah.
but everything else is apolitical for them. But here's my recommendation, because I think it diffuses everything, is I think that you seat Congress not by party. You seat Congress by state.
Oh,
So
okay.
They all and you could do it one of two ways. You could seat them by state for the Senate, and then you could seat them by state for the House, or you could just seat them all together. You could seat all of Texas together. You could seat all of California. You could seat whoever together. And then what you don't have is that stark difference. And truthfully, the quiet protest gets masked because every time one party stands up and the other party refuses to stand, and you just don't see them. They're just not there. And then that kind of forces a little bit more, like it takes the steam out of the sit down protest crap.
Yes. Yes.
And I think
love that.
That takes away everything. So
yeah, I love that. That's brilliant. Speaker Johnson, hello. Do that.
You throw that out there.
Clay just solved everything right there. Problem solved.
I try. So I think
sir.
that would be an option. I think it would change the dynamic in the room a lot.
Yeah.
But I also think that, like you said, we expect decorum. And I think, I was pretty brutal last night all over social media. I was posting stuff the whole time, and truthfully, not a single, and I know, and I'm related to, probably like a lot of us, a lot of liberal, blue left side of the aisle kind of folks. I did not see a single person defending the actions of their representation. Now, that may be because they refuse to watch because it's President Trump.
Sure.
And, they just chose not to do that. But no one defended what they were doing in any way, shape, or form. I was waiting for some sort of but Trump response, and didn't even get that.
Right. So I was kind of waiting for that too, just because of his jabs. I was like, oh, they're going to call him unpresidential and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. The other thing that the nobody from the Democrats thought through was all those signs. Have you looked at social media today? Because pictures of Congress, of all of them holding the signs, have all been turned into memes. So people are changing the words. People are, nobody thought through that on that side, which
they did not anticipate.
No. I mean, and I've seen some ones that are pretty rough today, but when you've got that side of the aisle holding signs, and everyone has now changed the words, like, I took a bribe, I work for Big Pharma, I'm a warmonger. Like, all of those signs say all those kinds of things.
Oh, that's awesome.
The internet did what the internet does.
It does what it does, and it did what it did, and I love it. I love when they do that. Oh, that's so great. And, to your point, as far as like reactions from the public, from the American people, there were a couple different polls. So according to a CNN instant poll, approximately 69% of viewers had at least a somewhat positive reaction to Trump's speech, with 44% describing it as very positive. Those are high numbers.
Yeah.
Those are high numbers. And then CBS News had a poll, and theirs found that 76% of the viewers approved of Trump's speech, while 23% disapproved. 76% approval is pretty good in this arena, probably in most arenas, right?
Oh, nobody's seen numbers like that since right after 9/11. That just hasn't happened. Side note on CNN though, I saw this yesterday. Can you didn't know this? I know you didn't. Did you know that Jake Tapper, of all people, hosts a show on CNN called American Scandal?
No, I had no idea.
There are so many jokes there. I can't even write them all down. Like, Tapper of all people, on
you weren't
of all
kidding.
Networks, talking about American scandals. Like, it's way too much.
Does he cover his own at all about the fact that, right? Like, I'm guessing no. I'm sure there's no mention of that book he just wrote about Biden's decline, and basically everybody knowing about it and covering up, including himself.
Right.
Which he denied during the time, but now he writes this book that basically said, oh yeah, we all knew it was a mess. That was crazy, guys, how bad it was. And it's like, dude, you were part of covering that up.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. This is how much they don't care.
I saw that yesterday, and I laughed out loud.
I made a skit about it too. Of course I made a skit about it, but oh man, that's pretty funny. I think their actual favorite thing, I always think that their favorite thing is hating America, hating Trump, hating America. But I think their favorite thing is being ironic all the time, right?
I think that their favorite thing is just being miserable.
Oh.
Did they not all just look absolutely miserable last night?
Miserable. I know.
If you're an elected American politician and you can't cheer for America,
you can't do it. Like it would kill you that much to cheer. I mean, and there are so many great things that he's done. I did this side by side. I gotta pull it up real quick. Hang on.
Yeah, right.
I mean, just saying, guys. And I was nice. I posted this on my social media and I said, which is very, very, very true. I said, I had so many things I wanted to caption this with, but the Holy Spirit said, girl, don't do it. So that's all I did. So thank you to the Holy Spirit for keeping me acting basically right. But, joking aside, there are really so many incredible things that he talked about last night that he did. And of course, they are, they do the truth or fact checkers and blah, 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 that stuff. And, whatever. I don't even care about any of that. But I want to kind of go, I think this is from the beginning. Let's see. So economic policies, he talked about. He emphasizes administration's effort to reduce regulations, implement tax cuts, and impose tariffs. Everybody's freaking out over tariffs, right?
Yes.
But all aimed at protecting American industry. So he touched on that. He touched on, of course, as we kind of talked about a little bit, he talked about immigration and border security, reiterated the importance of border security measures, all of that stuff. Talked about, I think he gave numbers to, or I think he said, no, actually I take that back. I don't think he said numbers, but talked about that this was the lowest crossings in like the history of this issue.
Yeah. So it's like February was 8,300 and change as opposed to
compared to millions, right?
Hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands on any given month. So so there's that. And then even, leading up to, you want to talk art of the deal. Like if he wanted, and he should pat himself on the back, but the entire thing with Zelensky leading up to this, and then the day of yesterday, all of a sudden Zelensky comes groveling back. And I went up and down with a bunch of people online who don't know and understand diplomacy, who only saw the 10-minute clip of, the heated tempers and the raised voices. And, they are embarrassed and they hate the president. And this is not how you do things and blah, 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 blah. And again, these people know nothing. They don't know about the weeks and weeks of work for the mineral deal that was leading up to the meeting. They didn't know that Zelensky had talked to Democrats and had been, railroaded prior to. They didn't know any of that stuff. They just passed judgment on the 10 minutes. And I have friends at State Department, as you can imagine, and I even told people that. I said, listen, you don't know the context of this. I know people at State Department. I have talked to them. I know what happened leading up to this. And I got people told me that I was lying. They told me to shut up. They told me that there was no way that I knew things that they didn't know. Like it was ridiculous. And then, of course, 36 hours after it happens, Zelensky's like, hey, I'm sorry.
My bad.
I need some help, because outside of England and France, if you haven't seen it, the rest of Europe is following his lead. Italy said no. They shut down all, like they were asked, would they send troops? Their president or prime minister, whatever she is, was like, not our troops. And then, oh, by the way, cut off all aid. I think it was Romania, Hungary, I think. Same thing. We're not doing this. So Europe has got their head on straight for the most part, and they have said, we're not doing this. And they're following President Trump's lead. So Zelensky's, he's in a hard spot. But what President Trump was trying to do with all that was just get people to the table. Just start the negotiation. That's what he's looking for. And people, again, who don't understand diplomacy, they don't know what he was doing or why he was doing it. All they heard was raised voices. And, so it is what it is.
Quarterbacks, right? Armchair quarterbacks who have zero experience in diplomacy and negotiations and world issues and relations are sitting there going, well, you know what he should have done. You know what I would have done. Shut up already. You sound so dumb when you say that, right?
There was a lot of people who like sent me the Webster's dictionary definition of diplomacy and don't understand that, the context of any of it. So
Yeah,
it was absurd. From the get go, it was absurd.
Right. And I think it's cute. And I say that very sarcastically. I think it's cute that they believe that those behind closed doors conversations that we don't get to see are all nice and friendly and sweet, and they have tea together and they say nice things to each other. No, that's probably exactly what it looks like behind closed doors. Just add in some swears, some table banging and some FUs. It's not going to be, and I've never seen it, but I'm not stupid. So I know it's not pretty behind closed doors. Zelensky screwed up by wanting the press there. He thought that that was going to help him, and it did. I mean, it did for the left because they're all, a bunch of suckers. Yeah.
And trying to renegotiate in front of the cameras.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Is really what, turned things sideways, because the entire intent for that visit was for him to come and sign the deal that the State Department had negotiated with them prior to the visit for the mineral rights. That's what it was for. It was supposed to be very ceremonial, a sit down, have a good talk, sign the document, all that, and then have lunch, which, by the way, all the staffers got to eat, because after he acted like a jackass, President Trump tossed his ass out of the White House, and all the staffers got to eat the lunch.
Good. So I love it.
And then again, 36 hours later, hat in hand, Zelensky says, we need to make things right. And we can sign this deal. I'm ready to sign this deal. And, so President Trump didn't flaunt how right he was during the speech last night, which I think he could have done.
Right. I'm sure it was very tempting too.
Oh, yeah.
It had to be so painful to not look over there to his right and say, I told you so. I wouldn't have blamed him if he did. But I'm glad he didn't. And, silence is golden, right? Just, you go ahead, run your mouth, talk like you know what you're saying. And, just like every other time that you have gone banshee wild and thinking that I ruined everything and I'm going to, bring us into a, third world war by negotiating peace, because that makes sense, right? Okay. Yeah. He doesn't have to say a whole heck of a lot anymore, because the actions have proven him to be right every single time.
Yep.
Every single time his actions have been spot on. So they can suck it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and he listed out, the Apple, he listed the new Honda plant that's going in. He listed, and all of that is a result from the tariffs. And what they refuse to understand about tariffs is they think that is somehow going to break any relationship we have with any country. And mostly because they're listening to Trudeau, who's an idiot anyway. Yeah. Do me a favor, folks, look around your house, walk around, find anything that you own that says made in Canada on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Please. Because you don't own anything. I can promise you the only thing you own that was probably made in Canada was a U.S. owned automobile, right? They do a ton of our automobiles are assembled in Canada, but that's it. That's all you got. And so, he's been right about that. Honda is pulling a factory out of Mexico and putting it in, I think, in Indiana. Apple, $500 billion.
$500 billion.
$billion, right?
Yes.
So all of those things are happening. He did talk about the economy. And, the other thing about the way that these speeches are structured and the way that you've got the silent dissent, and all of that, and why I think they really need to mix up the audience is the speeches afterwards by the party representative. I don't know if you stayed up that long. I know we were already pushing your bedtime.
Pushing the luck now. But as soon as he was done, I was done. I'm like, night.
So I watched Representative Slotnick from, I think she's from Michigan. And so she is a former CIA agent. She's a junior congresswoman. And they chose her to give the rebuttal speech.
Okay.
And I'll give you the short version of the speech. He hasn't fixed anything, and things are getting worse. And this is all bad. But again, there's no ownership over the last 4 years. There's no reality check of it's only been 6 weeks. There's no acknowledgement of the things that have been accomplished. There's only doom and gloom and threats. Oh, by the way, she took a pot shot at Elon Musk and his gang of 20-somethings, 20-year-olds, gang of 20-year-olds, which, okay, I'm going to say this for the 50th time. Representative Slotnick, 20-year-olds can vote and they can put on a uniform and they can die for their country. If you don't trust them to audit the United States government, you're wrong. You are wrong, right? Oh, by the way, your
Absolutely.
entire party thinks that they can make decisions about abortion, about their gender, about sex changes, and all kinds of other stuff. And oh, by the way, you want them to vote. You want kids to vote as early as 16 because it
Right.
benefits your party. So get your messaging straight. Stop with the 20-year-old crap because it doesn't hold water. Oh, by
It
the way,
does not.
every one of those kids, and listen, she's a CIA analyst, so she's a smart lady. There's no doubt about it. But every one of those 20-year-olds is smarter than she is. Every single one of them.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And that was 100% Clay's mic drop for the night because that was so spot on.
Oh.
Like, I want to stand up and applaud for you right now because that was so spot on. That was so good, Clay, and so true. And, and another thing that they, another hallmark of their behaviors, and of course, I'm talking about these Democrat leaders. I hate using that word and them in the same sentence, but another hallmark of their behavior is that they complain and bitch and moan about everything, but they never offer solutions.
Never.
Zero solutions. So unless you can offer equal or better solutions that you like, sit down and shut up. It's that simple. Right? If you're just going to complain with adding no value to the conversation, I don't want to hear it. Not even listening.
Yeah, their solution is the status quo.
Right.
That's what it is. Their solution is big government. Their solution is the status quo. The solution is nanny state. It's, free stuff. People can't make decisions for themselves because that's what keeps them in power. That's what they want. And so their solution is that. And it's again, and it is opposite of the mandate that the president was given in the last election by winning. And he hit it. He talked about it, won every facet of the vote, popular, electoral, counties, won the House, the Senate, they clean sweep. And the Democrats just don't get it.
They don't get it. And, they keep trying to spin this as, well, is this what you voted for? I don't think this is what no, this is exactly what we voted for. Exactly what we voted for. Because you know why? Trump told us everything that he planned on doing before he came into office. He has been telling us all along. And the American people collectively said, yes, that's what we want. And he's delivering it. So pout, stomp your feet, wave your little flags, wear your little pink jackets, make your little, theater. This is what we wanted. And we're happy.
He did also, I just remembered one other funny from last night, and that was going down the numbers of active accounts in Social Security, right? Which you and I talked about last week.
We did.
And he got to the end and he looks at Kennedy and he goes, "Hey, Bobby, looks like we got a healthier country than we thought we did."
He's so funny. He is so funny. I love him.
Yeah.
I do. I love him. We've talked about this before. My evolution of feelings about President Trump from his first presidency to in between to now. And it started with acceptance, not love. We are at love. I love him. I don't even care who knows it, people.
Let's hit on one more, and it doesn't have anything to do with last night.
Okay.
We'll hit on one more example of poor decorum and hypocrisy coming out of the, and that is Democratic Representative Velasquez.
Yes.
Who in a speech said, "Elon Musk, what the hell are you even doing here in America? Go back to Africa."
What?
Could you imagine?
That was so stunning.
Republican saying that at all?
Yeah, the uproar, the outrage. I mean, it would have been, oh my goodness. You can't even measure, you can't even quantify what would have happened if that were a Republican saying that to or about a Democrat. Like, that's where we're at with their mentality, or I mean, it's where they've been at all along, but the difference now is nobody's going to be taking that nonsense. That is insane. So she claims that her remarks were based on a social media post. Oh no, she actually claimed that she saw a video where he said
proven.
Exactly. So, so she liar, pants on fire, lady. Yeah. You didn't see a video. You saw a meme and you fell for it.
The video doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Yeah. Snopes of
all people said,
yeah,
didn't happen, doesn't exist. The video's not out there. And she swore she saw it and then made a claim, in response to that. Mm-hmm. Listen, I would love to look at AOC right in the face and tell her to get her ass back behind the bar. I really would.
Right.
Because that's
Yeah.
about where she belongs and about what she's capable of. There's a
Yes.
lot of people that would love to tell Ilhan Omar, go back to Somalia, right?
Right.
There's a lot of people that would love to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not our elected officials, right?
Right.
Our elected officials don't say things like that, right?
No.
And listen, folks, we were on Dan Crenshaw last week for him acting like an idiot too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is not one-sided here.
This is about acting like a grown-up. And again, there's plenty of it not happening at
Right.
from our elected officials. And this is just one more example, of people not, performing the way that we expect them to, or saying what we expect them to in public as a representative. Listen, behind closed doors, I get it.
Yeah.
You even talked about it, right? The diplomatic meetings behind closed doors, they get
Yeah,
ugly,
I don't care about any of that.
they get loud and all that.
Right.
Fine. Okay.
Yep.
Not in public and not
No.
in front of a microphone for sure.
No. And speaking of, I just saw it before, a little while before we came on, another one who's like now just making it her thing to be as trashy and garbage as she possibly can. That Jasmine Crockett.
Oh yeah.
Now
she was the one they thought she was going to throw. She was the one who was going to throw eggs.
Of course she was. Yeah.
That's
Of
who they
course she
thought it was
was.
going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm done with her.
What'd
What's
she do now? What did she do?
Just more of the same, dropping F-bombs, talking about Trump, talking about Elon Musk, of course, it's just F-bomb after F-bomb. And then there's this video of her, I'm guessing, I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's in her personal offices or in the corridor, but her and her, I don't know, associates or assistants, maybe, I don't know there, but they're doing that Kendrick Lamar dance down the hall. Like, this is what we're doing at work? Like, this is what you're doing at work? Really? On my dime? I don't think so. So, yeah, I really want to see some serious, consequences to this kind of behavior, because I'm done with it. I think as Americans, we're done with it. We don't need this kind of popcorn theater,
You can hold people accountable and you can get your point across without being vulgar, right? Without, dropping a level of decorum. Nancy Mace today, Representative Mace today, had a great one. She had all the mayors, the sanctuary city mayors, were testifying today, right? So she asked a very simple question of, if you have an illegal alien who has been, accused or is being held on, has committed a crime, a heinous crime, I think she said, she asked the mayors, yes or no question, is it okay to release them back into the population? Eric Adams from New York was first. He started to answer. She cut him off and said, it's a yes or no question. Make it very simple, right? And he said no in a longer winded way than he should have. I don't remember who the next one was who basically said no very quickly. And then she got to the mayor of Chicago, who said, he started out, well, the individual person, blah, blah. And she said, no, it's a yes or no question. Yes or no. And he kept going and he kept answering in his long winded, very non-committal. And she said, you know what? That's why you have a 6% approval rating, because you suck at answering questions. Next. And she moved to the next person.
Good.
Right? Point made, right? No vulgarity, firm, right?
Yep.
Gave him an opportunity to answer that he didn't do.
Didn't call him names.
No. And by the way, fact, 6.6% approval rating in the city of Chicago. Worst ever.
6.6.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Horrible.
Yeah. Wow.
In a Democrat city, like the bluest of blue. There hasn't been a Republican mayor in Chicago in over 120 years. That's
crazy.
God, they can. Terrible.
They can. This might be a stupid question. They can impeach, can't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a little stunned that process hasn't been begun, because that's as good as zero, right?
Give it a minute.
Yeah. Come on, guys, step it up.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
In fact, my home state of Illinois, you're starting to see a little bit of a red turn. We just had a DuPage County, which, for those of you not familiar with the area, Cook County is Chicago. DuPage County is the biggest county right outside the city. Okay. The DuPage County sheriff just announced he is running for governor.
Whoa.
As a Republican. So we'll see how. That things are changing, hopefully in Illinois. So listen. I mean, I say on repeat that I'm so glad that they're doing the things that they're doing, that they're being as awful as they're being. And, and I always give the caveat that because it's showing the American people, what you don't want any more of. But yeah, obviously in a perfect world, everyone's going to act right and do the right things and disagree and argue and debate in a mature, productive way. We're not there. So, I am, again, glad that they keep showing who they are, because this will keep turning that tide red everywhere at this rate.
The more they dig in, the more they dig their claws in on these belief systems and ideologies and insanity and anti-American, rhetoric, then good. Here we are. Here we go. Bring it.
And oh, by the way, you've got a president he was a lame duck walking in the door.
Mm-hmm.
He does not care.
Right.
Period. He doesn't care.
Nope.
So all he's doing is setting things up for, JD Vance. And
yes,
so we'll see what happens. But
who's been doing phenomenal. Huge, continuing to be a huge JD Vance fan. And Marco Rubio is bringing me lots of joy, man. Lots of joy from Marco Rubio.
He's amazing. He is. Every time I hear him speak, it's like there is not a single misstep in anything he says. Media, on TV, being interviewed off the cuff, like that guy is phenomenal. I can't.
And I gotta say, as a Cuban, makes my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm loving it.
Lots of props there. Yeah.
Loving it so much. So yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, we did pretty good. I mean, I think we got pretty much through everything that was going on. I'm like glancing at my notes here on the side. We did pretty darn good. I mean, we covered as much as you humanly can cover on that. Thanks to Clay for keeping us on track with it. Cause I'm going right off the rails, bro.
Yeah, no, folks. I mean, obviously last night was huge and it was, significant for the nation on both sides of the aisle, because I think you got a good look at what reality is in D.C. right now after only 6 weeks of President Trump being in office. So, happy that we could break it down for everybody and a good discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, you know the deal. We love to hang on. Sorry, that's my phone dinging. I broke the rules here. I did not turn my ringer off. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We love to see you in the comment section. Give us your thoughts. Listen, we've told you before, if you disagree, let us know. If you agree, definitely let us know. The other stuff, whatever. But yeah, just come in and tell us how great we are. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I'm always in there. I bounce back and forth between Facebook and YouTube every week. So, again, folks, we appreciate you. We keep doing this for you. Elsa and I could have this conversation on our own every week, but we hit the record button so that you guys can participate too. And we really, really appreciate it. So as always for me, keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys.
Combat veteran Terry Davis left a life of violence for the quiet Midwest prairie, but a terror threat pulls him back into action. In Tampa, he makes allies and enemies as the danger unfolds. Relying on his combat-honed skills, Terry faces a threat far bigger than he imagined, unsure of who to trust. One thing is certain, to survive, he must keep moving, keep shooting.
Welcome to Chance, the series you'll fall in love with. Picture a small town so warm and inviting, you'll wish it were real. That's Chance, a place where laughter echoes through quiet streets, and every neighbor feels like family. Elsa Kurt's 6-book series captures the soul of small-town life. Follow the lives of 5 families as they weather life's highs and lows, love blossoming, friendships forming, hearts breaking, and healing in unexpected ways. These stories will wrap you in comfort, spark joy, and tug at your heartstrings. Each page feels like a heartfelt embrace. Discover Chance today. Find the series and all of Elsa Kurt's books on Amazon and elsakurt.com.